Well, got a request to do something comic book related. Okay, that's technically not what the request was, but I'm going to do something comic book related because what the request actually was is something I don't fully have the ability to do. But anyways, I'll probably eventually actually do that. But whatever. Anyway, so one thing that comes up sometimes in discussions of comics is the disparity between a character's personality as the creator envisioned the character and how the character actually acts in practice. Now, in TTRPGs that have alignment systems for players, this will often come up as a reflection of the character's behavior not fully matching what the alignment they have written on paper is, which, yeah, that gets interesting sometimes. It's a similar idea, though, is that someone thinks about a character design. It's like, okay, this is what this character should be, and so on and so forth. And then the character, when actually used, does something different, which in some cases is actually as simple as the character has a bit of a duality, and the two aspects emphasize those differently. So let's look into examples of this from comic books and ponder how this would affect writing characters as a GM or a player in a TTRPG. So, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, as you can see here in this blurb, is supposed to be a ultimate nice person. It's like someone who acts out of caring and compassion and kindness. And oh yeah, this is the same person who killed Max Lord. Yeah. See, that's actually one of those things I always thought was interesting because the Max Lord story, she did it because of the fact that Max Lord told her that the only way to stop him from continuing to mind control Superman was to kill him. And Wonder Woman's like, well, if that's what I have to do, then that's what I have to do. Which, bad for Max Lord, good for Superman. And a lot of other people, honestly. Because Max Lord, um, Wonder Woman noticed that he was mind controlling Superman because he was doing it in ways that were, shall we say, not good for the general public. And the whole, kindness and love thing is why Wonder Woman got temporarily made one of the Star Sapphires. Although, kindness is not exactly the kind of love that the Star Sapphires normally go with. So this actually doesn't make as much sense as you would think. But whatever. It's what the comic book writers ran with. I didn't write this stuff. I'm just talking about it. Anyway, though, this is something that was interesting, though, because the fact that it got a bit complicated, especially when Mara was involved, because Mara was chosen by Atrocitus of the Red Lantern Corps to become a temporary member of the Red Lanterns. And here's the thing, Wonder Woman doing this little magic dingus to um, create a sort of a psychic connection between herself and Mara doesn't actually cause Mara to lose the ability to um, wield the Red Lantern ring. No, 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 no. See, The thing with the Red Lanterns is that by default they would do this whole like feral rage thing. Yeah, not all of the Red Lanterns actually did the feral rage thing. A lot of them would actually just wield their anger responsibly and carefully. This caused Mara to drop out of the feral rage mode and actually, carefully think about what she was doing. Now, why exactly is this? Well, see, when you see all these like clips of Mara, you see that yeah, she's kind of sort of a person who love and rage are inextricably linked for her because it's people she cares about getting hurt or threatened or what have you that causes her to feel rage most strongly. So her being angry is related to her being unhappy about something that happened to someone she loves. Again, this is one of those like things where you have a character show how they feel about and what they do rather than just telling someone that that's how they should feel. Because Wonder Woman could have actually tried fighting Mara, but she didn't. She decided to do this instead. Although, realistically, given the fact that Mara is the wife of Aquaman and someone who is legitimately an ally of the Justice League as a general rule, Wonder Woman has a lot of good reasons to not want to fight her. Also, there's the fact that 1v1 Mara might actually kick Wonder Woman's ass in a straight up fight. Yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, though, like I said, she's the wife of Aquaman for a reason. Anyways, moving on. So we did we Diana one. Here's one that I is a personal favorite of mine. Written by Joe Kelly. Great guy. Anyway, the cover calls it The Choice. The inside calls it The Gift. Why is that different? Good question. Don't know. Then again, the cover isn't actually drawn by the same person who wrote the interior stuff, so that might have something to do with it. I don't know. Anyway, so the gist of this one is that this is Superman being the all-American Boy Scout, the guy who is such a nice guy, such a great guy that even supervillains decide that they would rather give up their villainous ways and because Superman is just that nice of a guy because they want to help Superman be a nice guy. While that sounds silly and over the top when just throw it out there like that, the actual story does a good job of living up to the hype. As you have Superman fight four different villains: Major Disaster, Ocean Master, Scorch, and the Stone Emperor. Now, each of these four villains is someone who genuinely has reasons to do good things. And the ability to do good things, or at the very least, not do bad things. That's a bit murky with some of them, in terms of how their powers work, anyways. The Stone Emperor, minor character that is, I think, created for this comic book. I think Joe Kelly was creating a new character to have as a uh, potential recurring antagonist, but this is literally the only time he was ever seen, as far as I know. Scorch, originally created in the Emperor Joker event, which was like in the 90s or something, and then later on reused in the 2000s era comics several times. Here, well, see, in the Emperor Joker event, Scorch was unambiguously a villain because of the fact that that was why Joker gave her powers, so that she could fight the Justice League. And so, in the Emperor Joker event, she does exactly what Joker wanted her to do. Then, when the event is over, Mixoplick decides to undo most of what the Joker had done and leave a handful of characters still having the powers that they got in the Emperor Joker event because he thinks it's funny or something. Well, Scorch was the most prominent one of those, and she has rather impressive fire-based powers. Cool, whatever. Now, another thing that's interesting about this is that each of these can be kind of like seen as an element: fire, earth, water, air. But whatever. Anyway, Ocean Master, longtime recurring enemy of Aquaman. Um, Ocean Master is interesting because of the fact that he genuinely wants to do a good job as ruler of Atlantis, and he sees Arthur as being a less well-suited ruler of Atlantis, and the two of them actually don't fight as often as you would think they do. Now, this goes back to that whole thing of uh, what what the perception of the character is versus the creator's intent. Ocean Master and Aquaman often agree on things and work together, in theory. It's just that most of what readers see are times when they're fighting, because, as a general rule, the only time Ocean Master gets seen on a comic book is because he is fighting someone. In this case, he was fighting Superman instead of Aquaman, but whatever. And that's the whole thing with this, though, is that Superman doesn't drag him off to prison. He gives him an opportunity to join the Justice League and, do a good thing with his powers and stuff. Ocean Master decides to go back to the dark depths of the ocean and sulk like usual. But that's the thing, though, is that of these four characters, the only one to not just like quit being a villain completely, at least in this era of comics, was Ocean Master. But even then, he wasn't like a hardcore villain to start with. He was someone who was a occasional antagonist who rather regularly actually did things that are kind of useful. Anyway, Major Disaster. Originally a Flash villain. It's a guy who has the ability to do weather-related disaster type stuff. Although, it's not actually fully weather-related, because he can apparently create earthquakes, and in one comic book, he actually beams someone with a meteorite. Yeah, I'm not going to attempt to explain that one. Whatever. Like I said, I didn't write this stuff. But yeah, Major Disaster. Superman gives him the opportunity to join the Justice League, and he accepts. And that actually lasted for several years in the comic books and was rather good, honestly. Scorch. Despite not joining the Justice League, she actually does help Superman in some of the later comic books. So, like I said, she stops being a villain. She just doesn't really do anything as a hero, properly anyways. I mean, she does this thing where she has this heroic sacrifice moment where she saves the Justice League from Furnace, the burning Martian. Yeah, that was a lot of story. But, she's not doing that as a member of the Justice League. She's just helping them with stuff. And again, though, that's one of those things where it's like, perception versus creator intent. She's meant to be a, you know, villainess who is ethically questionable, except after the Emperor Joker story, she very rarely does anything even remotely threatening. Like, this is the last story she actually does anything, like, really, really bad in. And in this one, all she really does is light a park on fire because apparently she thinks it's amusing to watch it burn. And even then, that's not particularly bad. It's just, scaring people more than anything else. The only other time I can think of that she actually does anything even remotely villainous is one of the Despero stories, where Despero is going around trying to talk people into fighting the Justice League because he knows he can't 1v1 the entire Justice League. And he needs other villains to help him with that. But he's not really trying to do a proper stand-up dragon fight. He just wants to create chaos and havoc. Well, he convinces Scorch to do that because Scorch has been in a coma for several. Well, actually, we don't really know how long. Because, like, the end of the Furnace story, Scorch was left in a coma because she overexerted her powers fighting Furnace, and then Furnace attacked her, and then she just, like, completely, like, she, like, passed out and didn't wake up the next day. Well, yeah. Anyway, that got off on a tangent. Aside from that, though, it's like one of the things that got established about Scorch is that Scorch wasn't really a particularly bad person. Why exactly the Joker chose her, no one really knows. There's like one or two flashbacks where we see that she kind of sort of was a rebellious teenager or something, and maybe possibly that's why. But after the Emperor Joker thing was over, that's a aspect of the character design that just got completely forgotten about. Stone Emperor, like I said, not much to know about the guy because this is like the only story that we actually see him in. Anyway, moving on. One final example of uh, intended character arc versus what the character actually does. Tower of Babel. This is a story that is centered around Batman and how the Batman is so dangerous that he can accidentally create things that are possibly able to take out the entire Justice League. Yeah, this is a story where Ra's al Ghul steals Batman's secret plans for how to neutralize the Justice League and uses them to neutralize the Justice League and do all sorts of other super villainy things because, yeah. Now, in fairness, these plans that Batman came up with for taking out the Justice League are generally non-fatal, although arguably some of them are things that are not a good thing as a general rule, and potentially capable of resulting in people dying because it's just not fully safe. But again, the plans are not things that are like inherently going to kill someone, although, they might. Then again, it's one of those things where if you think about it too hard, you realize, like, oh wait, someone with superhuman strength could accidentally punch someone and kill them. Yeah, it's that level of comic book logic. Anyway, though, this is one of those things that is noteworthy because of the fact that it highlights the fact that Batman spends more time making schemes than he does actually fighting crime, seemingly. Is it actually meant to be that? No, not really. But it's something that comes across that way because of how it's presented and less about how it's meant to be from an in-universe um, perspective. At any rate, I think that's enough time spent musing about how to write comic book characters. See you guys later.